Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is Connie. I've had a lot of questions about how I do my inking, so I'm going to be sharing how I do my inking on a piece and also be putting it together if time allows. But I'm using the Apple Spice Bears from Kadoodle Bug Designs, and I'm using the Apple Pie Bear. So just to give you an idea. Now, a couple of things. I'm going to give you a little bit of background here. I use Stampin' Up! Ink pads. This is an older one, old style. And it does not matter what brand you use, but you want to use well, I prefer, I'll say, a dye-based, water-based dye ink. I have some distress inks, and I do use those from time to time if it's a color I absolutely don't have. You'll get different results just because they're not formulated quite the same. If you use pigment ink, go for it if that's what you prefer. It takes a lot longer to dry, so you're not going to get the blending that you would normally use. And I don't use the distress, or what is it, the new chalk ink they have, I forget the name of it, I'm sorry. I've seen it out and I've seen a lot of people use it. I haven't tried it. I've not tried any chalk based ink, so I'm not familiar with that too much. I have in the past, but it's been so many years ago I don't remember. So I just wanted to mention, not the brand, but the type of ink that you use will make a difference. And then for the majority of my pieces, I use the finger sponge daubers, or I use the crocodile tool with usually a 5mm pom-pom. I do have some 3mm, but they're very, very tiny. 5 is quite small. So the other thing is, my sponge daubers, very seldom do I wash them. It has to be that they're at a point now I need to clean them because they're starting to cross colors. I hate that. I tried to put labels on, that didn't work. And I don't like this tape on there. Anyway, okay, so my sponge daubers have been used quite a bit already. So they've got ink on them. So they're not going to take as much new ink to ink the pieces. Whereas if it's a clean, fresh sponge dauber, it might take a little bit more to get the ink on there. And I just have my pieces kind of random here, or my sponge dauber colors. So I have just off to the side, I have a piece of scratch paper, and I just daub it on there to get the color that I'm looking to see what I'm looking or working with. And I'm going to start off here, and I might have some more information as I go. I apologize, I think ahead, and it's hard to explain sometimes. So what I do now, the blue I'm putting on the white is going to be a little bit different than probably the others, but it's more how I do my darker color on my other pieces. And I more hold it at, what is this, more of a 90, closer to a 90-degree angle, because I don't want a lot of color on the white piece. I want it more just on this side, just to give it a little bit of definition when I put white on white together. My normal colors for this, for white, would be, again, I'm using Stampin' Up! Colors, so I can only tell you those. The Tempting Turquoise, or I have a Smoky Slate. Now, I just did a gingerbread, and I did use, I don't remember if I think I used an almond color, and that was from Close to My Heart. And I do have a few of their stamps, ink pads also, which I like those too. Those are the two that I have, other than some distress inks. So again, there was already ink on this ink pad, or on this sponge dauber, excuse me. And So I didn't need to put any on. I will show you though, it doesn't take a lot. By the time you put this piece on top of it, it's enough to give dimension when you put all the other pieces together. I will show you as we go when I need to add more ink how I do that. And I'm going to get my colors, my sponge daubers out of the way. So since I'm not using new sponge daubers, I basically just take the next color I pick, and this happens to be the green I want to use for the apple, the first color. So I didn't pull my colors out, my ink pads. I'd have too many and I don't have that much room. So this is Cucumber Crush. I don't know what all the colors of my paper are. They're just all from my stash. The only one I really know is the Bear color is Creamy Caramel. That's truly the only one I know. And then my white. Anyway, so what I do is I just hold my sponge dauber in my ink pad and get the ink, and I let it sit for, push it in a little bit to get some ink, and then I daub it off into the lid because you're going to pick up quite a bit. And I didn't need that much, but I use this from the lid too. Okay, so, and I sponge quite a bit off. Now I'm not sure yet how much is in my ink pad. I don't want a huge amount on there. So what I do is take my scratch pad and just wipe it off on there to see. So I've got this little baby leaf, and I just use my tweezers. Wow, my mind is just not there. And I'm at between a 45 and a 90-degree angle when I do this. It just, honestly, the smaller pieces, now I'm more at a 45-degree angle. It just takes practice. I would recommend, if you're doing like 2 colors like I'm gonna do on each piece, a dry ink pad or dry sponge dauber is always better because you can add more ink than take away. So I like to use a dry sponge dauber if I can. I was just looking to see, yeah. So now I'm going to use Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to do, what I do to give more definition is take a darker color than what I've inked the piece with and go, mostly it's going to go around the edge. So I'm basically at like a 90-degree angle here. You might get, a little bit on the top, and that's fine. And dye-based inks also generally, I know Stampin' Up! For sure, and I've seen it with Close to My Heart, they dry lighter than what they look initially when they're wet. So can't pick that up today. So that looks very dark, but it will dry lighter. Certain colors don't. Certain papers take ink better than others also. I have some yellow that is extremely smooth. I have a struggle with that. I have a struggle with yellows in general. This paper is quite smooth. I'm going to have to be careful with this. And also because it's patterned paper, I'll do it a little bit differently. This is American Crafts paper. Although it's the smooth, it still has a bit of texture and it takes ink very well. And then this is American Crafts. I think this is Smoke. It takes paper. It's got a little tiny bit of texture. It takes paper or ink very well too. So, and I usually work with solid core paper. Now I know Close to My Heart has wonderful paper. Theirs is white core. I don't like anything heavier than, I think this is I don't know, I think this is 80 pound from American Crafts. I'm not sure. I don't work with a lot of heavier paper. Some of the basil paper is, it kind of varies. I do use theirs, but I try to get the smooth, I think it's called the smoothie selection. I was just trying to think what color I was looking for. I'm going to do the spoon and pie tin, and again, I want to be very careful how much ink I'm using, and it doesn't, you know, you can hardly see any in the lid, but I don't trust that. So okay, yeah, it's, this stamp pad's pretty dry, but I don't want a lot of color. And this one, I'm not doing a darker color on it. I'm just going with the same color. Sorry if I'm not in frame, I apologize. I'm trying to keep in frame. If you feel like you've got a little bit too much ink to start on your sponge dauber, you can also just go very, very light pressure. The more pressure you apply, obviously, the more ink you'll get. And if you want it more on the paper, you need to have it basically straight up and down. See, now it picked up more ink this time. You can see where it's stamped in the lid. Just because the sponge dauber is wet, or it's got ink on it, and so it's going to pick it up faster. A lot of the shading the paper does the work for you, depending upon, you know, how you hold the sponge dauber. So, and I often just use whatever's in my stash when I have to replenish paper. I've been purchasing mostly American Crafts. I don't use their white, and the black I use Astro Brights, the black Astro Brights, and it's just 65 pound. And I use, I think it's Nina Bristol Vellum for my white. It's got a little bit of texture, so it's just also, for me, very easy to ink. I'm going to leave those. I don't want those much darker. Okay, let's see what we got going here. I'm going to do these pieces here next. Here I'm using Almond from Close to My Heart. I love their stamp pads. They are magnetic, so they just pull right apart, and it's awesome. This is when I know that's going to be much darker going on than what it appears. And if I need to, and I feel like I'm going to, you know, do a darker color around the outside, I'll come back and do that. I just do it with the other colors I'm working on at that time. So often, like even the green, I would, if I didn't have that ink, that sponge dauber available right away, I would just come back and do it. So again, just doing more of a, almost a 45-degree angle, just a hair off. It really depends upon how much, again, ink you want on there. A lot of this is just practice to get used to knowing how much ink you want on your sponge dauber, and, you know, working from there. Now, if I want a little more ink, because it's, you know, if I think it's too late, I just come back with, I haven't put any more ink in there. I just go again and just add more pressure. Some people, excuse me, they lay their pieces on their work surface and they work from there. I have better luck holding it. That's up to you. I have a glass craft mat. I didn't ever think I needed one. And I don't know, I was watching I think I was watching, I don't know, whose video. Might have been Cherie from Paper Pieces and Leftovers, and watching her, you know, with the pom-pom. And I used to have a struggle making that work because I was always trying to use it on paper. Well, that's why this pom-poms don't move around very well on paper. Even if you have, like she had mentioned, an old plate or something, use it. It's anything glass, it's worth it. It just, sorry, it's just glides so nicely. Let's see what this color was. Dark brown. Okay, we're gonna go with this next. The pieces, I changed up the pieces, the color. Excuse my reach there. Let's see. These are Stampin' Up! Ink pads. I just got the empty ones and added my own ink, and this should be, I think, Bermuda Bay. We're gonna find out. Yeah, it's just I got way too much ink on, so I gotta get some off. And on my, oh my goodness, that's still very juicy. On printed paper, I just go along the outside. So I'm not good at my degrees. 90-degree angle? I don't know, I think that's right. And just do the very, edges, outside edges. And depending upon the print, I might not even do that, because if it's more of a dominant white background, sometimes it's hard to figure out what color I'm going to pick, so I just leave it. It's just, I have a thing about white core paper. I like the color. I don't like white core showing, so I just make sure it's covered. Okay, only two colors we have is the bear, and I'm going to add some more color to this. So let me get those colors out. Most of my bears, I'm going to move some of these. Oh, I have the little, they're so tiny you can hardly see them, the stems to the apples. So I'm using soft suede, and that's the color I normally use. I'm just going to set it out of the way here. Oh, we do have red to do too. Let's see. I'm just trying to see on my pom-poms what colors I have here. I'll keep that one out. So these are a little more challenging for me because they're so tiny. Where's the tweezers? Helps if I have something to hold it. And then the ink, just comes right off. I just take a cloth and wipe it off, or if it doesn't, then I just use some water or Windex. Oh, that's just not going to work to hold it that way. If you ever wonder why my fingers are always inky when I'm usually have been doing something. The other thing I do, what I was looking at, I cut oftentimes and I'll just put everything in a baggie. But I put pencil marks, and if it's dark, I put white marks on the back so I know what's front and back. And I was looking on that to see what was front and back. Since I've got so much color in the pom-pom, I'm just not going to waste it. So see how I'm coming around, just doing the edge here. That's it. I'll need this for my red too. I'll have to do my red that way because other than the apple, it's way too tiny. What am I doing here? Okay, so I got my stamp pad here. Sorry, I'm just getting the right color for my sponge dauber. And again, just, you can speed through this. You've seen enough, or you get the idea, or just, you know. However, I know this is probably pretty basic for a lot of the my viewers, but I've had a lot of requests. I can't share in a lot of groups where they can see stuff how to do this, so it's kind of difficult. It's not a hard thing to do, it's just you really just gotta jump in and practice, you know, and kind of work at it. I take a color that's maybe a shade darker than the color I'm working on, and then I take a shade darker or two darker than that to do the final highlighting when I go around the edges. So, and you don't even have to do that, you know, it's just preference. I've seen when I first started paper piecing, you know, I saw a lot of people using basically either brown or black for their paper pieces. A lot of times brown just because it's not so stark. And you can do a lot with that. It's amazing. And now companies have started coming out with those, like, what are they? Probably 1-inch cubes, 1¼ inch cubes or whatever. That's a really nice way to get started with ink also. So you know, first of all, if it's something you're going to enjoy doing, and then it's more economical for colors to get, you know, a bunch of colors. So I think Memento does, and I know Catherine Pooler has the smaller size ink cubes, and if you like the distress ink, you know, Tim Holtz they have a lot of, sorry, I tend to be close to myself when I'm doing this, it's easier to hold it, I'm so sorry. Tim Holtz though has a lot of, I think they have all of their distress inks in the small cubes. So, and I don't know about Gina K Designs. I haven't used her ink. I want to say she has the smaller ones also. Okay, I'm going to put a little indentation in the foot. I have my sponge dauber held like this, so it's straight off my finger, and I'm just using just like a very tip, and I'm just going very lightly. If you wish, you can use the pom-pom to do that. I've just, honestly, it's not been so very long ago that I started using pom-poms. I just learned different ways to do certain areas and stuff with sponge daubers, and yeah, so I've been paper piecing for so long though that, okay, let me think about this. I had to figure out, I thought I had my legs messed up, but I'm fine. But yeah, it's like a lot of things, you know, I learned one way, and watching videos only, that's the way I learned. and studying a few people along the way, how they couldn't figure out how they got the, what do I want to say, the shading and the dimension. And then that's when I finally learned a few years ago. I tried it, because I only ever used to do this step. And then I really was studying somebody's, and so I tried doing the darker color around the outside and made a huge difference. So yeah. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not on camera. I'm trying. I'm going to just pull in just a little bit of color on here. Just this sponge dauber is pretty much dry, but it's just so you probably can't see much on camera, but yet it did pull in a lot more depth. So that's, there are times I will use as many as 3-4 colors of ink on one piece. It just, you know, depending upon how much depth I want. And if I need to blend it better, I will do that. I often use, on yellow, I often use a peach color. It's a retired color from Stampin' Up. I can't remember the name of it. Peekaboo Peach, maybe. I think it's retired. I don't know. But yeah, I pretty much use that either just kind of a shading or as a highlighting color. I often will use for my bears, this is early espresso, but what I have also used and I really like is crushed corduroy, I think it is. It's just distressing color. Now for highlighting, or you know, doing my darker pieces, I do like the distress ink. That works great. Like I said, I just don't get the same results when I'm shading with it because it's designed to work differently with water. So, and because it's distressed, you don't get the full, what am I looking for? The full coverage. It's going to have, always going to be a, you know, a few spots here and there that aren't completely covered. I found that with the oh, all of a sudden my brain, it's really bad today. Embossing powders. It's, you know, if you use, they're great, but you don't get a full coverage of your embossing. It's always going to have, you know, think of like a pair of distressed jeans or something. It's just not, they're not full color, excuse me. Okay, I think we just have the red left. And there I need to get pom-pom out. And find the ink. So pom-poms, I'm trying to think, oh, where I had the 5mm. I think you can get those like at Hobby Lobby. They're just, or Michael's probably, or, you know, online. They're just the white chenille pom-poms. So I'll show you a brand new one here in a moment. The 3mm, I know I ordered from Walmart online because I got the cheapest price there. I'm gonna let those sit. I don't think I'm gonna put another darker color on there because the red gets pretty dark. That's one thing I apologize, I should have mentioned too, is colors. You know, usually they dry lighter. There are a few colors that will pretty much stay, and if I put a darker color on here as a highlight, it'll just be really, really dark. Partly because I'm working with such a dark red to start with. Anyway, I get on one subject and then I go to the next. I'm sorry. I think of things and I gotta tell you, and so now you can see why it's more just trial and error. Now, these little things, I'm going to try to do them with the tweezers. That might be easier for me. Yeah. We'll just take a moment or two. So before I forget, I want to welcome my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. And welcome back to all my returning subscribers. You guys have been amazing. And I appreciate all your kind comments and your concern. I'm still not sure exactly, whoops, health-wise what's going on 100%. They are still doing some tests. Most of them have been pretty positive results, so that's good. Just one thing that we just can't get controlled, and it's just going to be, it'll plague me the rest of my life. It's just, some days are better than others. So all right, I am going to, I changed the, if you didn't see that, the pie pieces to red and this little drippy thing, and I'm just going to try to do the outside, and I'll come back with the pom-pom and do it a little better. I think it was supposed to be a caramel apple pie. That's kind of what it looks like on the internet, the picture. I wanted it to be a plain apple pie, so that's why I changed it to red. And I didn't like the bright blue shirt, so that's why I used the polka dots. That's the color that was, it goes good with red, and I just use colors from my stash. Sometimes I don't always like to use solid colors, so I just keep my pom-poms in a bag. So let's see, where did I put my crocodile tools? The handles were handmade by a friend of mine. It was quite an interesting, loud evening. They don't look very hard to make, but those little holes to get them drilled and stuff were, and then get the crocodiles, the clips in there. It was quite interesting. Let me move this a little bit. So I just put, ink on the end. Try not to tip over my stamp pad. And just going around here, and then coming in here. Eventually this will have glossy accents on it, so it's but I did want some color on it. And then I want to clean that mess up, and then I'm going to go ahead, if you want to stick around, I'm going to go ahead and put this together. So I've already put my eyes together. I have not put this piece together yet, so it's going to be interesting, to be honest. I'm going to start with the legs, because I do know they go on backwards, or on toward the back. I often dry piece first to make sure everything is going to be covered and stuff, so good there. I had some questions about my glue bottle. They're available on Amazon. I don't know where else, to be honest with you. I use reptile glue. I know a lot of people use Barely Art or Art glitter glue. I think this is going to be very comparable to the Barely Art glue, just because it's got a little bit of wiggle time compared to Art Glitter Glue, which is what I used previously. And I did change the color of my shadow or my background piece. Sometimes I'll go with brown because there's a lot of brown piece. Gray is fine. I just trying to conserve on my, there it is, on my caramel color, and I don't have any less expensive craft paper right now, so white works fine. But I just, even when it's pretty much, I'm trying to get this, I have to be able to see to get this lined up. Even though it's white, or even if it was the caramel color, I still just do a light inking, and it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Don't worry about that. Next I'm going to do is her ears. Yeah, her. Let's see. So I had to take my glasses off so I could see what I'm doing, and then I can't see the computer. It's crazy. I tell you, love being blind. I have to put things close to me so I can see. Even with my glasses on, I can't. So, all right, get her other ear on. And then the centers. They don't need a lot of glue. I was at a Stampin' Up! Party yesterday, and the demonstrator and I were talking. I don't think a lot of people realize the glue is just not something you need a lot of anymore. It goes a long way, and you can smush it down. So now her arms, there is a tiny, very tiny indentation on both sides for the sleeves. So holding this up so I can see a little better. I want it to go under her headpiece, but make sure it covers let's see. I'm just going to pencil mark this. What I want to make sure is that it's going to cover with her shirt and everything, that they're not, I often have gaps in that. Since I've got white on the background, I don't want that. This is the one I'm not sure of how far it has to go down. So I've got a spoon that's going to cover up here. And yes, I talk to myself when I do this, so I'm just going to put the spoon here a moment. Okay, we're good. And then, let's see. I know the body and the shirt go on. Yeah, we're fine. Anyway, yeah, with glue, as I mentioned, we were talking, and depending upon the type of glue you use, if you're wondering why your paper is warping, it's possible the amount of glue you're using for one thing. What was I gonna say? Most of the glue is water-based instead of solvent-based, which when I'm paper piecing I use, like, the glue is water-based, but the glue I use for cards, if I don't use my ATG gun, it's solvent-based, so it doesn't warp paper. But yeah, that'll do it. Just getting this more lined up over here. There's a tiny little white piece that'll be taken up by her shirt, so I'm good there. I'm gonna put on her sleeves next, and trying to feel where that little notch is. Okay. I'll quit talking and get back to working. I'm sorry. You're here for paper piecing, not a lesson on or information on glue. Trying to hold that. Okay. I'm gonna make sure that her head's gonna cover. There's a little spot, if you see by the ear down here, there's a bow that covers that up. So I'm good there. I just want to, I had to look when I did that, so. Okay, looks so weird with her arm like that. Her one paw will go over the top of it also. We'll do that toward the end. Now we can put her dress on. I don't know why, I just love watching these crazy things come together. Again, there's a spot here, the spoon covers it up. I'm just double checking that everything is getting covered where it needs to, so. Pay attention to what I'm doing here. I was watching or looking at the picture. Make sure I'm getting everything. Next we're gonna finish the bottom with the pie plate and the pie and everything, and the apples. I want to, been bugging me, those little apple stems. I'm going to put those on my apples next, because there's nothing that they have to match up here to. So let's see. Oops, I already took. Okay, this one goes on the red one. This piece is going on a card, that's why it's smaller. If I was putting it on a scrapbook layout, it would be a little bit bigger, but it's real top to bottom. What's 1, 2, 3, about 4 1/4, and then she's 1, 2, 3, about 3.5 inches wide. So she's not very big, I'll say, with these little tiny pieces, but it all comes together. think that's why my scrapbook pieces get sometimes bigger than I plan them to be. I use my tweezers to get the glue off. Let's see. Just trying to see the front versus the back of these. With the lights being so bright, sometimes it's hard to see. I'm not sure that stem's going the right direction, but that's okay. It's not, excuse me, it's not gonna matter. Next, I'm going to put the pie on. And again, this really doesn't have a spot for it, so like anywhere on the shadow to show where it should go. So I'm just kind of watching the picture and going from there, and basically trying to get it somewhat straight. Okay, now I'll put my apples on. And I did not come back and put a darker color on the red, just because it would have been way too red. And this one is going more at an angle. Okay, we're doing okay. I'm sorry, I should have told you this is going to be a long video because I don't speed my videos up or anything when I paper piece. So you get the full details if you watch the whole thing. Now, let's see, my pieces for my pie. I'm going to just piece here, or just lay here a moment so I can figure out where, 2, 3, there. Kind of where I want them. Up a little higher. Okay. My glue is, the tips of my tweezers are full of glue. I think she's going to be really cute when she's all done. Just inking the pieces alone makes a difference. I'm trying to decide. I wish someone was here that could say yes or no, give me their opinion. I was kind of thinking about doing glitter on the pieces here to make them look like they had sugar, you know, so, but I think I'm just going to stick with glossy accents, and then it will look like they're, you know, it's a warm pie just out of the oven. have a stamp that goes with this, so that's why I wanted to make it apple pie. All right, now I think it's time to, I'm just looking what I have left. It's time to put the head on. And sometimes I kind of have to fidget with this to get it right with the, oops, it moved on me. Oh, we're good. Smush it on to get it right with the background piece. And look in here. For me, this fits better with the more rounded part at the bottom. It's hard to tell on the design, on the finished piece, so that's what I'm going with. And it's designed to have the head automatically tilted, which is nice. Quick, before I do anything else, I want to put some chalk on the cheeks. And if I get a little bit on her muzzle, that's fine. Okay. Now, I've put her eyes, as I mentioned, together. I try to get the black. So here, I'll try to show you. So they come together in the middle. And I'm just going to guesstimate where her eyes are going here. I was hoping I didn't glue the whole muzzle down, but I guess I did. Not so smart. Normally I leave just the top part open, so I can get that under there. I put my eyes at a bit of an angle. Ugh. Work with me here, tweezers. There's something on that eye. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not positive. Okay, I'm gonna put the nose on right away too, so I know where I'm working here. I'm gonna do the I'm going to finish a good share of it in case you don't want to stay around and watch me do the face. So what I'm doing is just putting a bit of glue if I can get that. This will go on the spoon. And it's easier to do it maybe now. It does just kind of fit right on the edge of the spoon there. And then I will glue this whole thing on. And first I want to get it down here at the bottom, right? Okay, and then we have two paws to go on. One will go over here. One goes, I always think they look weird until their eyes and everything are finished. Maybe it's just me, but they just don't look right. See, I know I had this figured out. It all worked together, but now I want to put her hat on, and then we can put her bow on. And then I normally finish the face, but in case you don't want to stay around, I just will show you what it looks like thus far. And see, I don't know if you can tell now, but the blue shows up quite a bit with the inking on the white hat. And then once we put this piece on, it will really show off. It just shows there's a break there. So I'm gonna quick put her bow on. Talk about using too much glue. Sometimes it comes out fairly quick, and I have glue galore. All right. I want to cover up that little white spot. And there she is until I get her all inked and chalked and everything. So if you're not going to stay around for that, that's perfectly fine. I appreciate you staying, and thank you very much for watching the video today. If you have any questions, please do leave a comment. Otherwise, take care. Thank you. And I'm going to get my little eyelash, eyelash, I'm not sure. My little pink tool, that's what I call them. Okay, now, again, can't see what I'm doing, so more I'm just going by feel than anything. Feel around the paper of the eyes to see where I'm at. Excuse my reach there. No, I put my tools on the opposite side of what I work. Let's do her eyelashes first. Try to do them. I don't know what that is on there. I really don't know. Covered up with the black marker. Okay. make her eyes, very simple. Maybe get my pen to work. There. Why that one side doesn't want to work, I don't know. It just will not. Seems like once it's, I'll redo it. I'll just let the black dry. Okay, where's the? We'll let the Copic dry and then I'll redo it. Sometimes once I've already done it, it doesn't want to work again. So I'm not sure why. Got a white. When I have something this small like the eyes, I often will use my pink tools there too for highlighting. I just have better luck. So I just want a little in the nose. Let's see. It was more than I wanted. I'll come in and buff this out a little bit. I'm just adding a little bit. Sorry if I keep getting out of frame. I am so sorry. And I found that the white highlights show up much more on the video than they actually do in real life. So if it looks like it's a lot, it's not near as much in real life. So just okay, let's see if this is, we'll try it, see if that black is dry. And then we'll get the glossy accents on and wait for that to dry a minute. I'm going to put some red glitter in the middle of her bow. All right, see what I can mess up here. Don't want it on her shirt. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, if that little spot in there, if I can stop it, but can try. And Now, oh, much better than the red glitter I was thinking about. I don't know what I was thinking about, but all right. I don't like that eye yet, so I'm going to try my other. That's a number 10. It always works. I don't know why. Oops. I have too much junk sitting here. I can't find what I need. Just going to chalk her eye a little bit. I don't know if the glossy accents is showing. I hope it is. It did what I wanted. So there is my finished piece. I want to thank you all for joining me. Have an awesome day, everybody. Take care.